before she was a name on an indictment, Arlene Alvarez lived with her parents and her family in Southeast Houston, Pasadena area. She was 9 years old. She was in the 4th grade. She loved to do her nails and do new videos, dreamed of being on TikTok. She was being raised by her working income parents. Her dad, who's an electrician, her mom, a hairstylist. She lived there in Southeast Houston with her younger brother and baby brother. On February 14, 2022, yes, Valentine's Day, she had gone to the mall with her mom and bought her dad cologne. Dad, being an electrician, he had a job that day. It finished early, and then he got a call where he had to do another job in North Houston, so he was late. He didn't get home until around about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, greeted at the door by Arlene with her cologne. Feeling horrible, says, let's go out to eat. So the family decides they're going to go to their family restaurant that they go to once a week. Pizza place down the block. So they load up in the car and they're going down, and then Armando realizes he has to deposit some money in his checking account because it's an alarm on his phone that his phone bill is due. So on the way to the restaurant, they detoured to Chase. Around the same time, the defendant and his wife is driving, go to a Chase bank. They are in a drive-thru, and as she is also depositing money, a horrible thing happens. The wife is approached on the driver's side between her and the ATM, and there appears to be a gun is placed in her face. Horrible, terrifying. She's being robbed, and he's in the passenger seat, the defendant. He says, give me all your stuff. They end up giving her a purse, small purse, wallet, $20. And then the guy who robs them takes her keys, has her take the keys and throw them beside her car. And he takes off running. And this is where this begins. The defendant is seated in the passenger seat during this robbery. He's the one that said, give him the wallet. Pauses for a few seconds. And as the robbery assailant is running away, he decides not to flee in the car. He decides to get out of his vehicle. He's got a handgun that he carries in his waistband. And what you're going to see, and you're going to learn, is he gets out of that vehicle angry and reckless, because he immediately turns his gun on that robbery suspect as he's running away from his vehicle. The law allows him to do that. And he shoots 3 times at that robbery suspect as the robbery suspect is running away. And then when the robbery suspect hits where the chase sign is, he darts behind it, and the defendant will never see him again. From his standpoint, where he is standing, he can't see beyond that. And just as that is happening, Armando and his family are traveling down that same street. Now, Armando was going to go to the front of the chase. He was not going to go to the side where he believes it's dangerous. But he then sees the robber running away from the scene. He sees him with the wallet in his hand. So he quickly deduces that this guy is a robber running away. And he hears the gunshots from the defendant in the direction of the robber. So Armando is trying to decide what to do. And so the first thing he's thinking of doing, he's going to U-turn and get away. But he knows there's a car directly behind him, so he can't do that. So he starts to veer, and then all he can do is, since he hears the gunfire, is to go forward. And when he does, the defendant immediately, remember how I said he was shooting? He doesn't get back in the car. The defendant then goes into the open grassy area, and he fixates on the next thing he sees, which is a moving vehicle going down the street. Now, this is not a matter of the defendant shooting at the robber and missing and an errant bullet hitting the truck. Not at all. This is a case in which what the defendant does is, as soon as he misses sight of the robber running away behind that sign, he immediately directs his attention to the next vehicle coming down the street, which is the Alvarez's. And he immediately, in John Wick fashion, starts firing at the vehicle as the vehicle passes him. He already shot 3 times. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then some time for the 10th shot. As Armando is being shot at and going fast, he tells his family, get down, as he's looking at he's driving. And everybody gets down. But Arlene, because she has headphones on, and she can't hear. And as he drives past the defendant shooting, as the car is directly on side of him, one of the many bullets pierces the back passenger door, between the door and the window. And that bullet travels into that car, pierces the lock. The bullet fragments, part of the bullet enters her head, right in her right eye, and the other part falls into the car. As Armando drives by that chase, he looks and he sees, and his son is screaming. His 7-year-old son, Armando Jr., is screaming right next to his sister with the blood. So he stops the car. And he gets out in the back, checks on her, sees she's been shot, and the first instinct was, I got to get this guy's plates, and gets back in the car. And as that is happening, the defendant fires another round and takes off. We can't bring you to the crime scene, but throughout this week, we're going to bring it to you. You're going to get multiple surveillance footage. You'll be able to see for your own eyes what happened. Today, you're going to see a surveillance video from Chase Bank that's never been released to the public. So you'll see this. And it's the only surveillance that you will get that is from the perspective of the defendant. What you will see is that horrible robbery going on. You'll see it through the front windshield as the assailant is next to his wife. What you'll see is, as soon as that robber starts to run off, the defendant chooses to get out of the vehicle with his firearm and fire at him 3 times as he's running away. What you will see is, as he's firing at him 3 times, that robbery suspect never shoots back. As he's firing at him 3 times, that gun that was in his hand never shoots back. And what you'll see is then he gets behind that chase sign. And you'll see from that surveillance, the defendant then chooses not to get back in the vehicle quickly and speed off. That defendant chooses to then go to the grassy area of Chase and and you'll see immediately, you'll see Armando's headlights. You will see he immediately fixates on those headlights. And as that car is coming, his next shots go all the way as he's tracking him down. I want you to remember, write it on there. You'll get evidence of it. 3, 2, 4, 1. The 3 shots at the guy's back. Boom, boom, 2 at the truck. Another one, another one, another one, another one. As you'll see Armando going by. In his truck, you'll see from the chase video, blacked out windows. You can't see in. He fired recklessly into a truck. He had no idea who was in there. Then you'll see him. He'll start to drive off. And remember, he has to get the keys. So he gets out of the vehicle and he picks up the keys. You'll see this on the surveillance. He'll get back in the car. And just when you think it's done, just when you think he has caused enough havoc, just when you think he's going to drive off and speed off, what he does is as they're exiting, he opens the door as his wife is still driving. And he puts his gun out and shoots down the street as Armando is checking on his daughter. And then speeds off. You'll see it with your own eyes. You'll see it first thing this morning. Don't worry, you're going to see it again and again. It will be dissected. We're actually, at some point in this trial, going to play you the defendant's 911, where as they're driving off, he and his wife call 911. They had just been robbed. But what you're going to hear, this is him driving from the scene. You're going to know the first things he says in the beginning is he'll lie to the 911 operator. Because he says, that robber shot at me first, so I had to return fire. From that chase video, you're going to know that is not true. Then what he'll say, and his wife will say, is they thought that that truck was the getaway truck. It'd be the first getaway driver who drives back to the scene. There's no way that robber he would have had to be Spider-Man to get into a moving truck. That's what he says. Then the wife says something very interesting in 911. They say, well, who was this driver? And she says, an Hispanic man. And tries to describe the clothing. She gets it off. So what does that tell you? That tells you as they were, because obviously she's not going to see him in clothing as he's driving. What it tells you is as they're exiting the driveway, just as he is shooting down the street, she must have seen Armando getting out of the car. So it was bad enough he was going to recklessly fire into a car that had windows tinted he couldn't see in. Now he's firing at another human being that he had never previously seen. We're actually going to bring in the body cam from the first responding police officer who arrives on scene within minutes. We're bringing the scene to you. And what you're going to see on that is Armando is freaked out. Armando is quickly saying, the guy came from the chase, go get that video from the chase. Armando is going to tell that officer, he was shooting at a robber. He deducted it was a robbery because he saw the wallet in the hand and the shooting going on. He says he was shooting at the robber, but he all of a sudden turned the gun on us. And he'll even show it by the chase ATM. He'll go, bah, 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 bah. You're going to see it. That was his initial thing. Says it a couple times to the officers. Now they're going to process the scene. They're going to recover some shell casings, not all, and you learn that that's not uncommon. Every shell casing does come back to the defendant's gun. They're also, because he responded to 911, patrol officers went to the defendant's home. He cooperated. He gave over his gun. Now, what's going to be interesting to you, and one I've never had an answer for, is the magazine that he says was in it isn't going to add up. It's a 12 capacity magazine. There's 6 bullets in it. Clearly, he shot more times. 310. So either he reloaded or it's a different clip. Y'all can determine that. What's important, though, is every shell casing recovered at the scene wraps back to that gun. Now, the bullet, that part of the bullet that ended up in Arlene's head was too damaged because of being inside the head and the path that it can't be identified. However, the bullet fragment that was part of that bullet that was found in the vehicle, that is the same from his gun. But again, this isn't a case of whodunit. This isn't a case where officers have to investigate, talk to people to find things. This is a case of which you can determine it from watching it and seeing it. And y'all are going to get to see it firsthand. Because we're also going to show you other surveillance from across the street, and just down the street, and all the way down the street. But as you're watching these surveillances and described to you, keep in mind the defendant would not have had that perspective. It helps you understand everything because it's across the street and down the street, but the defendant from the scene, from the chase sign, from the trees, would not have been able to see what I'm about to tell you. In the surveillance camera across the street, you will see Armando as he turns a little bit to the right because he's going to make that U-turn. And you know he wasn't going to go into the driveway because he would have crashed because you can't do that fast. So you'll see that. You will also see that robbery suspect run straight by his truck. So you might think to yourself, well, that's reasonable that he thought he was a getaway driver because he rode right by the truck. But the defendant would not have been able to see. What it will confirm to you is he obviously didn't get into the truck. But then something else happens. What you will also see from that video and the video just down the next business right after the chase is you will see that robbery assailant doing this. And that's where the false narrative begins. Because it will look like he's shooting. Now keep in mind, the defendant, from where that assailant was at that moment, and from where the defendant was at that moment, he would not have been able to see this. But you will also notice there's not a muzzle flash that comes from the end of that barrel. It was more of a, if I do this, because all the assailant's hearing is gunfire. He's hearing his gunfire from this defendant into a truck. But what you'll see is then he continues running. And as he gets to the end of the parking lot, he'll do it again. You will see him lift his arm up like this. Again, probably response to hearing gunfire. But you will not see muzzle flash. Unlike on that same video, you're going to see muzzle flash from the defendant's gun. Unlike on the chase video, you're going to see muzzle flash from the defendant's gun. But then there's more. Because as that robbery suspect is running down the street, he decides to take a left, and there is a gate, an iron gate, that he chooses to jump over. But before he jumps over it, he drops the gun and drops the purse, the wallet. And you'll see, as he's doing that, you know that car that was behind Armando, the reason why he couldn't do the U-turn? That guy's trying to get out of there, And he sees it, and then he does it again. He does his arm up again. Again, no muscle flash. Then he picks up the wallet and the gun in the same hand as he jumps the fence. You're going to learn that there were 10 shots that night. And we believe by the conclusion of this trial, you will conclude that all 10 came from the defendant. But again, those videos are giving you complete context. They're showing you everything. But remember, it's only that chase video that you will see is the defendant's perception of what happened. During this trial, we will dissect these videos. You will be a unique jury. You don't have to rely on what people tell you, because sometimes people get it wrong. As time goes on, you remember things differently. What's important is what happened right at that moment. You'll be able to see with your own eyes. You will hear from a firearms reconstructionist, and that will be beneficial because you will know that based on the hole in the car, based on where it is and the size of it and the way it looks and the way it's dissected, that this was definitely a straight-on fire. It's not a matter of shooting this way and the errant bullet hitting the car. This was as the car is passing, as he's in front of it, 36 feet away. The bullet that pierced that truck and killed Arlene. It's from the defendant. Not as he shot at a robber, but as he shot at a vehicle that he couldn't see into because he thought somebody else had gotten into it. Killing an innocent third party. At the conclusion of this trial, you will decide that even under all the circumstances that defendant was experiencing that moment after being robbed, he was extremely reckless by shooting into a vehicle he had no idea he was in it. And he's guilty of manslaughter for taking the life of an innocent 9-year-old.
You may proceed. Please keep your voices up as well. I've been told that we're having difficulty hearing you all.
Okay, can we approach briefly?
You may. We proceed too far into it. I know that there's a lot of emotions with respect to this case, but if we can please keep the audience noises or comments to themselves, and if you can't handle that, I totally understand. Just please exit the courtroom right now. My intent is to give a fair trial. In this case, I'm going to have a fair trial. That won't be an issue. You may proceed.
Thank you. If it
And
pleases
please
the
speak
court,
up, okay?
if it pleases the court, Your Honor. Attorneys for the state, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, good morning. Wow, that was pretty persuasive, wasn't it? As a matter of fact, if you believe all of that, then probably no sense in having a trial. Like, why are we here?
Objection, argumentative.
So ruled.
Let me tell you why you're here, because the facts aren't going to lay down exactly the way Mr. Jordan just described them to you. They're certainly going to put on evidence to try and convince you that Tony was in fact reckless that night in shooting at the truck. But the evidence that Anna and Ed and myself are going to put on is going to tell the story a little bit differently. It's going to prove to you that in fact he wasn't reckless that night, and that he had a reason to believe that the truck was involved in the robbery. And he made several points which I'll address, but there are certain things about the evidence that we both sides agree on, okay? And excuse me, but as I get older, I need more and more notes so I can remember where I'm at. And I want to talk to you about the evidence, okay? But I think as you hear the evidence in this case throughout the next few days, one thing is going to become obvious to you, okay? One of the things that are going to become obvious to you is that you're going to realize or come to the realization that there is a robbery suspect, an armed robber out there who should be sitting in this chair, right here. That person is in fact the individual that they should be prosecuting for this tragic event. And make no mistake about it, guys, this is tragic. Nobody wants to lose a child. And let me prepare you, you are going to hear some gut-wrenching testimony. You're going to see some video that is really moving, okay, in that respect, okay. I want to prepare you because the evidence is going to be presented, and it is what it is, okay. One thing that we agree on is back on Valentine's Day, February 14th of 2022, 3 years ago, and he talked about a video. They have a lot of videos, okay? We've seen them, they've seen them, and hopefully you're going to see them all, because they'll help you really determine for yourself what happened, because regardless of what they say or we say, that's not the evidence in the case, okay? We might both have our interpretation of the evidence, but at the end of the day, the 12 of you make the decision. That's really why you're here. But we do agree that this occurred on Valentine's Day back in 2022, no question about it. And when you watch the video that they're going to introduce that is shot from the Chinese restaurant across the street, the back of it, here's what you'll see that night. You're going to see a male dressed in black clothing, dark clothing, and you're going to see him a distance down the street, and he's sitting on the ground. He's just kind of lurking near this fence and kind of in bushes. And then you're going to see Tony and his wife Dee pull into the Chase and up to the ATM machine. And what you'll see is this individual sees what's going on and he gets up. And you're going to see him on video. He walks down the street, walks down the sidewalk. They're in the ATM, the last ATM closest to the road. There's some bushes between the sidewalk and the ATM, and the evidence will show you, you'll see him as he walks up, he walks past the bushes, and when he sees Dee doing her transactions, he immediately runs around, and what he does at that point, he runs right up to Dee, and he sticks the gun right in her face, okay, right in her face, and robs her at gunpoint. And you'll see, if they show it to you, you will see the video from Chase. I don't know which one particularly he's talking about. Hopefully he'll show you the video where you can see the fear in Dee's eyes as she's held at gunpoint. And you can see Tony in the video holding up his hands, okay, like this, kind of protecting himself. Okay, if Tony was gun happy, I believe at that point, he could have pulled his gun out and shot at the guy, but he doesn't. He's telling Dee to cooperate. give him what he wants and let him go, okay? So that's what's taking place. Now, as he robs them, okay, in dispute, let me say this, the facts, he does take the wallet, and in the wallet has her credit cards, personal effects, and importance to them, her grandmother's address, and that becomes significant when you hear the 911 call, because they're concerned, they're telling 911, he's got my grandmother's address, and these guys following us, he might go to her house. In any event, money, and then the keys are not dropped inside the car. The keys are, we believe he took the keys, and the evidence will show that, or they threw the keys at him, but the keys are outside of the car, because that's the reason Tony gets out of the car, okay? And they'd like you to believe, and he says the evidence will show that the keys were inside the car, he didn't need to get out of the car, okay? No, he gets out to get the keys, okay? And as he gets out, Tony believes, and there's evidence to support, that the robber shoots at him. Now, Mr. Jordan made one point really clear. The law doesn't even require Tony to wait until he's shot at. Legally, he can shoot at a fleeing suspect in an armed robbery. Okay, that's the law. And he talks about these photographs where the robber is down like this, and we have him, we'll introduce him if they don't, but he's clearly pointing back towards Tony, and the reason why Mr. Jordan can't tell you that a lack of a flash indicates he wasn't firing is because they never found the robber's gun, okay? And without having the gun and not test firing the gun, they can't sit here and say every gun disperses a flash to indicate it's being fired, okay? You can look at the video, and that's the kind of stuff you'll have to decide. Those are the facts you're going to have to decide for yourself, okay? I can tell you one thing, he can tell you the opposite. You'll have the video to look at, okay? Fair enough. And that's how we think this should proceed. Look, the evidence again is going to show that they're prosecuting the wrong individual. He's the scapegoat. That's what the evidence is going to show. Okay? This is a tragedy. There's no question about it. Okay? The evidence is going to show he didn't get up that morning with his wife and plan to hurt someone, to shoot someone. That evening, they planned to go to dinner together, like many people do, get something to eat on Valentine's Day. Okay? He worked late. She wanted to deposit her check, and she wanted to get money so that they could go out to eat. Okay? This is not something that he thought about doing in advance. They pull in, and unfortunately this travesty, sickening travesty, unfolded. Why did it unfold like it did? Because when Tony got out of the car, okay, and they were exchanging fire at the very same time, okay, the very same time, at that instance, the Alvarez family in their truck, they were coming to the ATM. Now, here's where you have to look at the video very closely so that you are not misled. There is, the ATM machines are up there. There is the entrance over here. And you will see on the video a very slight maneuver by the Alvarez family, Armando Alvarez driving the truck. He turns very slightly, okay, not significantly, but enough that you know it was an attempt like he was going to turn in. But he realized that he was in the middle of a robbery at that point. I mean, we're talking split seconds, people. And one thing we will agree with is that there's a sightline issue because A lot of this is taking place behind trees and behind signs, the chase sign and everything. But he turns, okay, and there is a split, just a short moment when the robber is in close proximity to that truck. And then Armando veers off, okay, and you know he does it in a hurry because in the videos and in the crime scene unit photographs that you're going to see, you see all kinds of items out on the street. I'm going to leave it up to you to decide what you think happened. It looks as though when he veered off, he hit the curb and then veered back into the street. But at that point, he starts off and he's in the right lane, okay? So here's the ATM, here's Tony, Armando's coming down the street, and in the inception, he is in the right lane, closest to the sidewalk, and Tony's standing there and he's coming out. Now, all that talk about boom, 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 boom. I mean, it didn't go down like that because when you see all the CSU photographs and the markers, they located all of his shell casings. They recovered 5 of them, okay? And he, by his own admission, he told you the evidence is going to show that he shot at least 3 times at the robber, fleeing on foot. Okay, so it didn't quite go down that way. So here's what you need to do. You need to look at the evidence. When CSU goes out there, there's an individual who shows up, Matosi, and he's going to testify about how they put down the placards, they look for the evidence, okay? And unfortunately, because it was so chaotic out there, and because no one really knew if they were investigating a robbery at first, or a shooting, or both, they focused the area of the investigation right around the ATM. They never really went out further towards where the robber ran. They never looked down the street, past the side of the bank, because at that point, Tony's standing on the grass near the sidewalk, and the building is a little bit more behind him, and they never really travel down there and basically, you know, take a metal detector, take other stuff. So they're going to argue to you that, oh, we didn't find anything that indicates that the robber shot at Tony. Well, yeah, they didn't, because they did such a half-baked job out there that they didn't do a full investigation, okay? They didn't take a metal detector and look for any objects beyond what they saw, the immediate eye, because it was real easy. Hey, we have a truck over here, we have a bullet hole in that truck, we have some shell casings here, boom, we're done. We figured this out, let's pack up and go. Okay? Real simple. Okay? That's what they did. So, the whole incident took 20 seconds, 30 seconds if you include the robbery itself at the ATM. Here's the problem with that. We don't know, all this video footage, we don't really know about the time frames, the cameras, how they're set. We don't have that information available. We can look at it, and obviously we're restricted by the lighting, and the video's not the best. It's blurry at some parts, it's grainy, but you can go over the evidence and you can kind of figure out what's happening. But what's really important, I think, and what I'd ask you to pay attention to, and you can make the decision, is that at the time when Mr. Alvarez kind of veers into the bank and then takes off directly towards Tony, from that time to the time that Tony shoots at the truck is less than 2 seconds. 2 seconds at best, but less than 2 seconds. Boom, boom. That's how much time Tony had that night out there to make a decision, okay, about what he was going to do. Not very much time. And the evidence will support that. And if you look at the video, you can see it, you can see it for yourself. Now, let me tell you something. Tony did call 911, okay? He did. He felt he was being followed, and while he's on the phone, at that point, he doesn't know that he's hurt anybody. He doesn't know that he's killed anybody. He's calling to report his robbery. He firmly believes that he's being followed by this truck that had the robber in it. And he ends up providing information, and he actually meets with the police, the detectives. They come to his house, he cooperates, he says, here's the gun, okay? And he and Dee are both taken downtown to give statements, and they do, okay? They give statements, and, you know, the officer talks to him, Detective Farrell. He's on their witness list, and I anticipate they'll call him. And he gives a statement, and I can't introduce it, but they have it, okay? They have the statement. And if they want you to know what Tony told the cop, they can introduce it.
That would be, can keep it to opening statement, please.
Okay, so let me tell you what the evidence will show, depending upon what they do, okay? And what they want you to know.
Objection, argumentative.
Keep it to opening.
So the evidence will show that Tony sat down with Detective Farrell, and he told him exactly what he
Objection.
Please approach, please approach.
It's not arguing. I'm not arguing anything.
not going to allow you to do that either. But bring me some case law. Well, that's what you should have known before, because I told you all before, I moved on case law, I told you all that, I told you all that for months.
But I know the case, I understand what the.
Are you planning on showing the photographs right now? Right now? Again, I'm asking you, just move forward, you're wasting your time, I'm wasting my time, I'm here all day. You may continue.
If I can pick up where I left off.
Please.
So basically, you're going to hear about CSU working the scene. The evidence will show that the first CSU, the main CSU investigator comes out and he is looking for the casings. You can count the casings, you can review the stuff, and you'll see for yourself what they found and how limited the investigation was. Secondly, another guy comes out. His job as a CSU officer is he sketches the scene, okay? And interestingly, you'll find out that his sketch leaves out some of the most important stuff, okay? Leave out the sign, blocking the view, the trees. It's very limited, okay? Not a very good job, but what's significant in this case is that it's important for you to see things like how fast is the truck moving, what maneuvers does the truck make, what is Tony's sight line. These are the things the evidence will present itself to you, and you have to kind of look through it and sift through it. And they leave all of that out, okay? They do a very poor job, okay? And then what the state's going to do, the evidence will show a few weeks ago, they went out to Montgomery County and they hired a woman by the name of Celestine Rossi. And she's kind of their expert. I mean, you'll see her resume, it's 19 pages, and she's an expert pretty much in everything, okay? And so what the state did is they hired her to do some, I'm not exactly sure, computer-generated stills, 9 of them, that they're going to show to you, okay? I don't even know if I need to comment, because when you see them, they are so not going to reflect what was going on that night. Whether it be the lighting, the speed of the truck, what they are, she put some data into a computer, and I'll add, sitting in the comfort of either her home or her office, not at the scene, not under a split-second timeline, and she generates these, they're not even photographs, they're not animation, I mean, they're not real people, they're not real figures, it's not a real truck, it's just kind of a AI-generated still. And she's going to show it to you with this figure pointing directly at this truck, okay, shooting into it. And that's supposed to be persuasive. That's supposed to persuade you that he was, excuse me?
Keep it opening, please. Keep it opening, continue.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Look at the video. Look at the lighting that night. Look at everything we've asked you to consider, because the real evidence is on video, okay? It's not computer generated. They went out there and they got the videos, okay? And there's multiple videos. There's a video that is at the ATM facing D while she's being robbed. There's a video that's up on the ceiling, kind of near the roof, but it's up ceiling over the top of the outside of the bank facing down. There's a video across the street that's facing that you can see the truck come and so there's different angles, and I implore you to watch it all, because that's the best way to see what actually happened out there. So, when Ms. Rossi takes the stand and she presents these computer-generated images, then it's up to you to evaluate their accuracy. And it's up to you to compare the real evidence that's available for you to see. The whole picture, the whole story. Not just their isolated takes on how this went down. That's all we ask. Give it a complete and thorough evaluation of all the evidence. Okay? Of all the evidence. Before you render a verdict in the case. Keep in mind that Ms. Rossi, they didn't send it to, the DA's office didn't send it to the crime scene. That's what the best form of reconstruction you'll find out is. If you're going to reconstruct stuff, that's how you do it. But no one from the district attorney's office sent her out there. You're going to find out that she put data into a computer and got pictures out. And she's going to talk about all of the efforts that they made to capture the correct measurements of everything. But think about this. The CSU people are going to tell you that their measurements, and they're out there, are approximate. Okay? And you're going to learn that for an accurate reconstruction to take place, you have to have accurate measurements. It starts there. And there's even more issues that arise when you are trying to reconstruct the shooting of a moving vehicle. So the evidence is going to show that there was some problems with really reconstructing this accurately, and that 3.5 years later, a couple weeks before trial, to generate these photographs for a jury to see, I think the evidence will establish that that's basically a last-ditch effort.
Objection, argumentative.
I'll strike that, Your Honor.
Thank you.
You know you're not going to rule. Look, it is what it is, and like I said when I stood up, if the facts were like he stated them to you in opening, then there really would be no need for you to be here. But the facts aren't that way, and the evidence isn't quite that way. And it's going to take the 12 of you, actually 14 of you, to sift through everything. And that's all I'm going to stand here and ask, okay? And at the end of this trial, ask yourself, well, they've charged him with an omission of not, I don't know if it's not taking the time to determine who's inside the truck, or how, for not maybe stopping it, trying to figure out who's in the truck. Because if you read the pleading, the charging instrument, the indictment, that's what they charged him with. And you apply the law, okay, which I'm not going to go into now because the judge will give it to you. You apply the law, then the verdict at that point, if you follow the law, okay, should be not guilty, okay? He's never said he didn't shoot into the truck. He's not say, as I stand here today, I don't know what evidence will be presented to you regarding how they determined if he did that, but I'm here to tell you he's never said. The evidence will show he never disclaimed shooting into the truck, okay? That's all I can say about any statements he made at this point. What I want to do at this point is thank you for your time. It's going to take a few days, and again, I just ask that you consider all the evidence and you make your own determination. Don't let Mr. Jordan sway you to think it went this way, and I'm here to tell you, don't listen to what Anthony says. Okay? I just want a fair and impartial. You're kind of like the referees, the mediators, okay? And you make the determination. Thank you.
I thank y'all for y'all's opening statements. This is my normal time for my first break, so I can handle some important issues. Deputy Sam, 10-minute break, please.
Yes, sir. All right, for the jury.
I'll coffee inside there.